Hey there, I'm Sarah Zarella, a portrait and wedding photographer and your host for Wedding Secrets Unveiled. This is a podcast where we cut through the complexity of wedding planning, leaving you with everything you need to know directly from the industry experts. If you want to simplify your wedding planning while having fun, of course, you came to the right place. Join me while I guide you through your planning, starting from your engagement to your big day when you say, I do. After photographing for over 20 years, I am sharing with you tips and tricks to cut through the excess noise. Because I believe from the moment you said yes, your planning experience should be a magical time in your life. Here you'll find episodes that are fun, stress-free, and straight to the point with a fresh, honest take on the reality of what you really need to know about planning your perfect day. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled podcast, friends. I'm your host, Sarah Zarella, and today we have the owner of Carissa Corsi events, Carissa. She is going to be talking with us about formulating genuine connections with your wedding vendor team. Your core team really needs to be supporting you the day of your wedding, right? So how can you make sure that you are hiring people that are going to be looking through your lens and implementing your vision and work together as a team? We're going to be breaking down how to dig deeper and making sure that you have the proper questions to ask people or understanding how to go about getting those perfect vendors. It really all starts with a phone call. But listen, you're new to this. You're planning a wedding. Most of you have not done this before. So we're really going to break down the wedding booking process for you today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with the fabulous Carissa. Well, welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled podcast, friends. I am here with the fabulous Carissa. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to have you.
I'm really excited to be here.
Before we get into who you are, to all of our listeners, we have to let them know that we have been working together for a few weddings and we have a few coming up. So we're very excited, and I'm happy to talk to you today. Not on the job, just talk some tea.
Yes, all the tea.
So I know who you are, but for our listeners, tell them a little bit about who you are, who you serve, and what you do in your business.
So my business name is Carissa Corsi Events. And my team, we serve New England and now branching out into Italy. We do full service wedding planning and design. And we really take the couple from start to finish when it comes to building out their wedding day, from everything from creating the most efficient vendor team through executing their design on the day and making it one of the most memorable days of their life.
Italy, can we talk about that?
Yes, we just booked our first 2025 wedding in Italy in October, and we're really excited. So that is new to the portfolio, but super excited about it. Looking to expand in the Italy area.
I lived in Italy for a year, and so if any listeners are out there and traveling to Italy and you want to hire me and Carissa
as a duo,
we'll come. I don't really travel too much anymore because I have 3 kids now. So, but I'll go to Italy.
Yeah, now's the time for me to do it before I have kids.
Right. I mean, you know what it is? We live in the Mecca of weddings, so I'm just, having so many beautiful places. I don't need to travel anymore, but I will.
It is so true.
I will travel to Italy.
Yeah, definitely.
So how many years have you been in business for?
So I have been full-time about almost 4 years, but my career really was centered around corporate events. So I have a ton of event experience, from project management, logistics management, marketing management, all the things. So I really, back in the lovely 2020, decided to embark on this journey and really made an impulse decision to go full time. But it's been one of the best decisions I've made yet. And my business has really grown since then. So I'm really, really happy about that.
I was going to say, what made you go from corporate to weddings, but you just answered it. The lovely pandemic just made everybody just switch gears.
Yes, yes. I like the intimate side of things. I'm very much a magnetic connections girl, so I love making special connections with people and really learning in them inside and out versus just here, do the job. I like to make it a collaboration and have fun with it. So the intimacy part of it really drew me in.
I love that word, magnetic connections. That resonates with me a lot that you just said that. I just love that.
Yeah, yeah.
How many weddings do you do roughly, or how many weddings will you cap out at for per year?
So right now we're netting at 10 per year. In 2022, we had about 15, but now that we're gearing our business more towards full service, we're really trying to stick between the 8 and 10 wedding marker.
And for people who don't understand in your terminology, full service, what exactly is that when it has to come with wedding planning?
Yeah, so running a full service business and what that looks like is we really are covering everything from soup to nuts. So we're starting with our couple hiring us on as their full service wedding planner. And we're kickstarting things with their budget, their top priorities in terms of vendors, booking out those vendors. If they don't have a venue, we're working through that. And then we're really carrying them out through the process. So we have a very steady connection with them and, guiding them through everything. But you can really envision it as us doing all of the things for them in collaboration with them. So we really want them to still feel like they're a big part of the process while we're just leading it, helping, guiding them along the way and building those great connections with their vendor teams and really lining everything and setting them up for success on the day.
Well, that actually gets into another question I was about to ask you, which is obviously with connections being so crucial in building solid wedding vendor teams for obviously the listeners' wedding days, how do you navigate meeting and forming those relationships with the people in the industry?
Yeah, so we form the majority of our vendor relationships through multiple different ways. So we actually host our own vendor events. We did 2 last year. So we love to keep up with attending networking events and also participating in stuff like collaborations. So any type of editorial or any really type of collaboration that we can do with vendors to form a relationship, and also just cold reach outs through social media and just connecting with people who we love their work and, would love to work with them, but also we connect with them on like the value front. We're really just building relationships in those ways. And then we're carefully curating, a preferred list that we can really give our couples so that they can have the utmost experience when it comes to building their like true support team for the day.
So in regards to having, and the genuine connections, right, versus just suggesting people, explain that to the listeners. Kind of take us through just how one can understand and make the efforts into having the genuine connections that you can match your couples up with. Because I mean, obviously you have to have people in all different styles and way of working because your couples are different. So how do you, as an event planner, start to navigate like those perfect matches for your couples versus just suggesting?
So we seek out different vendors just through the different ways that I express, but really the big thing is just getting to learn and hear more about their business and the services that they offer as vendors. And that way we can really pinpoint, what is their range of pricing? Like, what do they value most in a couple? What do they look for in terms of good fit for couples, because then when we get couples come to us, we can easily pair that. Like, what is their type of style? Like, for you, Sarah, for someone who does photography, like, what is your photography style, and how does that align with the couples that we bring in or might suggest to you? So, I would say in terms of us is just really getting to know them, whether that's Zoom or coffee shop date, just hearing more about their services. And in terms of like how couples maybe without a planner can start to form some of these connections, is really just reaching out and booking a consult call. I always recommend that, whether I'm working with someone full service or whether someone is just not working with the planner at all, it's really, really important to get on calls and talk to these vendors that they're looking to hire so they can catch a vibe. I literally call it catch a vibe, because it's so important that you vibe with the vendors that you're booking, because they're supposed to be a true reflection of you. So you want to make sure that you really are in sync with them. And really the way to do that is to have that connection via face-to-face, Zoom, whatever that might look like for you.
Yeah, and like you said, just hopping on a call too. I understand people are very busy right now, and we're kind of getting into a world where there is like that talk anxiety. Like, I can't tell you enough how many times people say to me, like, just even hopping on a call gives them anxiety, right? Yeah. It's a very unique world we're in, right? But I do have to say, just sending an email out and saying what's your pricing, or just looking at the website, it's just not enough. If you're looking to go that next step, that elevated step, right? You just have to hop on the call. Like you said, you could do a Zoom. And it doesn't, honestly, like my first initial calls are usually 10 minutes. It doesn't even have to be this whole thing. You can tell in 10 minutes. Yeah.
I love that. Keeping it short and sweet, for sure. I love that.
Just keeping it short and sweet. I mean, again, like a lot of times when I first initially talk to my couples, they say, is there anything else you need to know? And not in the beginning. We'll start to learn more as we work together. But in the beginning, like you said, it's just talking, and it's just seeing what that gut says, right?
Totally.
But with that said, kind of take me through some of the pros of having an amazing wedding vendor team on your wedding day. I mean, obviously there's the obvious, but really let's get into it for the listeners about what is the pros of having a good team.
Yeah. If you're really going into the day with a good team that you can feel confident in to do the work that they are set out to do, you really understand, or they really understand your expectations of what you're looking for your wedding day, you're going to naturally go in feeling more confident. You're going to have an organized team behind you to support you that knows the ins and outs of your big day and are totally on their A game and ready for it. Also, you will know that your planner, if you do have one, has things covered when it comes to logistics and these vendors just being on the same page. If you don't have a planner, I always suggest working as closely as possible with, whether that be someone at the venue, just to ensure that you are covered for the day, because being in sync and having everybody on the same page is so important, and having some type of logistics guide for them too. But really just the biggest thing is just, you don't have to think about a thing, and you can just enjoy the day stress-free, because you're going to know that everybody's kind of going in and doing what they're set out to do for you, completely understanding those expectations.
So the opposite side, what happens?
Yeah.
What happens if you don't? Oh, and before I even ask, because I could tell you knew where I was going with this, right?
Yes.
Just some myth busters. Like, your team doesn't have to have worked together, okay?
Yes.
To make it flow. I just want to really kind of stress that too, is that if you are working with true professionals, they don't need to have already worked together. There is a difference with having a good team versus having a team that's worked together before, right? I don't know if you have anything to touch upon that.
Yeah. So usually when, say a couple, whether it's full service, whether it's an event management package, which is a 3-month takeover, in that case, they likely have all their vendors booked. If I haven't worked with the vendor in particular, it's really just back to what we've said before, is like getting on a call with them and chatting with them. Like, letting them know like what, how you work, you want to hear about how they work. Like it really is a collaboration, and you're getting to form that relationship before you even get there on the wedding day. I think that's so important. Just kind of hearing them out, them hearing you out, and just making it very much fluid. And, like there's, that not everybody is for everyone either, right? That's important to put out there. But, there is something to say about having two professionals that working together, understanding each other, knowing what the job is, and being able to just get shit done. So
yeah. And like honestly, like we get a lot of emails to like people saying like to us, hey, have you worked with this video? It seems like videography for the photography, right? And I'm sure there's something to be said, probably like you with the venue, right?
Yep.
Like,
yep.
And to be honest with you, I don't need to work with a videographer to have a nice, cohesive in sync. I don't. Mm-hmm. There's other ways around it. So I don't want people to get a little stressed about that. But that's the whole reason why we're doing this, right? We're talking to you guys right now. It's telling you what you can do to make it cohesive. And it's a simple email introducing the two vendors. And if we feel that we need to connect again, we can. Or us, like behind the scenes, if you hire legit people, we can already be talking to the vendors that we need to be talking to.
Yes. And I like what you said, Sarah, about like photo and video, and having a quick conversation amongst those two like parties or companies, just to really understand kind of how they can best work together to make it the best flow for the couple. That's kind of similar with a planner and a venue. So really being a full service planner and having someone as a venue coordinator, two completely different roles, but really we're just coming together. And when my couples have me and someone for the venue who's managing operations and maybe some of those planning details as the months are leading up, it's really just being in sync and saying, okay, like I got you, you got me, like, hey, if your team can't do this, like we have staff at our venue to help jump in and set that card box or put that welcome table in place or whatever that might look like. So it really is, I mean, I hate to sound cheesy, but teamwork makes the dream work. So it really is like just everybody's working together to, put on the best day for their couples. So just, again, back to quick communication and really getting in sync from the start to set yourself up.
Okay, so getting to the question I was going to ask you, what happens if you don't have the team that syncs up?
Yeah, so a couple things that I think of when it comes to the cons here, or the opposite side is, serious mishaps when it comes to the overall timeline. If vendors aren't prepared beforehand, if they're not on the same page with the flow of the day, it could get messy. There's also, there's always room for improv, but I think having just a set plan, and I actually just started this, for my 2024 couples, is really building out a logistics stock that also involves the design of the day for my couples to get a more holistic view of what the wedding looks like. And I think that it's going to be a game changer because it's just really, again, like getting everybody on the same page and making sure there's no mishaps. But also overlap of roles, right? Because when it goes back to what I was saying about the venue and the planner, and also when I think about like photo and a planner, those are the two biggest, people who are with the couple all day long. And it's really like, you want them to be in sync and aligned on the timeline. Like when I work through my timelines, I'm talking with the venue and the photographer first. So we're really aligning on the photo timeline for the day, which is really the center of everything. And really, that's that big start of the day. So I think it's just so important to, avoid those mishaps and also just avoid the overlap of roles throughout the day, is just two of the cons that can come up that you definitely want to avoid.
Being a full-time wedding planner designer, like how do you handle the vendor booking process and just kind of like the referrals for those couples and that can benefit from that?
In terms of how I handle the vendor booking process and kind of the referrals of vendors to best benefit my couples. So we have, like I was talking about, a preferred vendor list. It's really a core list of professionals that we've worked with before or formed strong relationships with, where we feel comfortable suggesting them to our couples. But also, that is to be taken with a grain of salt because we are a full service planning company that will work with other vendors. I know there's certain people out there who have their set vendors. We're really open to forming connections. It's part of our brand and what we do. And I think that that's such a big part of it. But with full service, we really are kickstarting with chatting through the budget and the top vendor priorities. Like those, when I say that, I mean their must-haves. What are their must-haves for the day? Is a photo booth really important to them? Is the DJ really important to them? What does that look like for them? And then I like to do 2 vendors per category to really get us moving, start reaching out to venues, get on consultation calls, and just talk with the vendors, catch a vibe, whatever, feels good to them. I always encourage my couples to do that with their vendors. So whether you have a planner or not, get on a call with them. It might seem tedious, it might seem unnecessary, but the goal really is to book people you feel truly connected with, and talk to more than one. You have a plan. If you have a planner to kind of help with these conversations, great. But even if you don't, still pick your top 3, your top 5, whatever that might look like to you, and just get the ball rolling, have these conversations, and be able to narrow it down from there.
And like you said, I really like that you said take it with a grain of salt as far as the preferred vendor list. Because listen, whether you have a planner or not, and you're probably, obviously, if you're listening to this, if you're planning a wedding, you've probably seen multiple preferred vendor lists, right? You got to take it all with a grain of salt. It could be really easy, just follow it. But it's just also just who has already developed these connections. But somehow, some way, those connections weren't there at one point, right? And somebody worked a wedding together and they developed a connection. So it's just a matter of, I guess it just comes back down to that call. I can't say enough. You just got to get off the email and you just got to call. You can start with email. You just have to call. It's just the biggest piece of advice I can give somebody.
Yes. And I always like to say, in terms of, I like to encourage my couples to really base it on priority and breaking it down from there. Because if their priority is a real kick-ass photographer, I truly believe it's worth that extra money. And I try to put emphasis on that and readjust the budget in other ways. So that's kind of where we are taking that step in full service, is we're helping them kind of align those items in a way that makes sense to them. So I really say, I think the vibe is really, really important. And it's sometimes, if not all the time, at least what I'm seeing more and more nowadays with full service planning, trumps the budget part. So I think we're seeing that more and more. And, whether you're in event management, or whether you're a bride or groom doing this completely on, your own DIY decor stuff and all of that, it really does, differ amongst per couple. But I do see, that vibe really taking a strong presence. So just getting on the call with them and, really hearing more about what they do and if it's a good fit for you.
I would love to talk a little bit more about that too. Let's take a quick break. And when we get back, let's talk about if there's certain things, like your suggestions of certain things that couples can do with or without a planner, of making sure that they are looking at vendors that fit them and the suggesting new vendors for themselves, right? Whether it be the wedding planner suggesting a new vendor or the couple who doesn't have a wedding planner, how can they navigate through that? All right. So we'll be right back. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you like what you're hearing, I encourage you to check out our website at sarahzarella.com. And don't forget, you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. And I would so appreciate if you left a fabulous review on Apple Podcasts. Even better, share it with a friend. It's a great way to show your support. And now, let's get back to the episode. All right, well, welcome back to Wedding Secrets Unveiled podcast, friends. So before the break, Carissa and I were talking a little bit about like how to align your vendors and create that perfect team, whether you have an event planner or not. So give us the tea, give us the dish on, how there's certain things that they can do or you do, whether it's an event planner or not, when suggesting like new vendors or just getting that team together.
Yeah. So when I'm suggesting new vendors, I'm really thinking through the qualities more so than anything. So basically certain things that I'm looking for in certain vendors and comparing those to the couple is, are they responsible? Are they approachable? Approachable is a big one because, you really want to have that mutual trust between the two of you. And you really want to see eye to eye. Obviously, you're not going to see eye to eye with everything, but most of the time you want to see eye to eye. And you also want to have that type of relationship where, me, myself, Carissa, and Sarah could recommend something to the couple and they're going to be like, yeah, yes, that's a good idea. Like, absolutely. Like, right. They want to hear you out. Or they're going to be like, I'm going to be honest, I don't love that. Can we go a different route? So you want to have that mutual trust, mutual respect, be able to approach one another. And also just along those lines, willingness to collaborate with one another, like hear each other out and just be organized. Like you want your vendors to be organized. Their job is to be on top of their work. So, my job as a planner is, yes, to be on top of my work so that I can help all the other vendors on the day kind of do what they have to do and be able to focus on their craft. And I think that that's so important, is everyone really just kind of being organized in one's own craft so that they can really focus on what they truly love. And I think another thing is just, couples looking like, make sure you ask your vendors, like, why do you do what you do? Like, why do you love what you do? Like, it's important to dig into that passion piece too, because that's going to shine on your day.
I love that. I don't know the last time I was asked that question by someone that was just like, I guess for lack of better terms, interviewing me.
Yeah.
I get a lot of those staple questions that they're pulling off of the knot or just somewhere in a book or something, a website, a blog post. But, this is one of the reasons why I started this podcast was I just wanted to give back. I just wanted to educate. I wanted to unveil like the secrets behind the trade. And I just think that is a really, really great piece of advice. If anybody takes anything from this episode, right, ask them just why they do it. I just think that by you hearing their answer, that's a really open-ended question, and you can really gauge a lot from that answer.
Yes. It can go in a bunch of different directions too, and you can uncover things that you might have in common, more in common than you would even think. So I think it's just so beautiful, whether it's vendor to vendor or just a couple looking to hire a potential vendor.
I love that. And that is what kind of creates that, I guess, the other piece that I just loved that you said, which was the magnetic connection. That is a really great question because, I guess, for example, I get asked a lot like, what gear do you use? Or I get asked about my packages and which is all fine. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
This is all logistical things. This is why we're on the phone. We're getting down to the meats and the potatoes. But there's that like side martini or that little drink, that special drink or that dessert that you're going to have with that meat and potatoes. And that is, or the icing on the cake for that question is just, I really love that. I never thought about that. So that is your takeaway. Just why do they do what they do? That answer is going to create a really great connection with you or your vendor. And you can, or you can move on. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
But if it does create that connection, it really can help in tenfolds. So I think that it's a really good one for sure.
With that said, though, right, I have to ask you, has there ever been, because we're talking all about like how create like that special vendor team and giving, but how is there, I mean, there's always things that can happen that you think you're going into the day and you think you got this great team and,
Oh yeah.
all the planning has happened, all the pieces are in order. I mean, spill it. Has there ever been
Yeah.
like this collision of like just for lack of a clusterfuck? Like,
Yes,
and
yes,
what did you
yes.
do?
Yeah. So I had one wedding where the DJ and I did not see eye to eye. We and as if you don't already know, like the the photographer is a huge part of the day in terms of the timeline, but also so is the entertainment. So it's a really important to us as a full service planner to hop on a call with a DJ or a band to really understand like what are the formalities, like what are they announcing, like when are the speeches happening, all these different things. It's aligning on those. And I had a situation where a timeline was agreed upon. Obviously, being a planner, I'm leading that timeline with all of my, peer vendor input and feedback. And I always let my vendors review and always give them opportunity for feedback or changes or whatever that might look like to make them feel the most comfortable. And, this DJ completely crossed the line and on the wedding day, completely shifted the timeline on me. And it was a lot to deal with. I think, there was no improving at that point. It's just kind of let it unfold how it unfolds. But, we align with our couples for this reason as a full service planner, and we're doing what's in their best interest, what they want to do on their wedding day. And the couple ended up coming up to me and saying, "Oh no, why'd we change this? Like, why is this this is not supposed to be here. I thought we weren't doing this anymore." So it's just, it wasn't a great look and it wasn't, ideal. So I really, really cannot stress enough, like, please, please, please make sure, like, if you do not have a planner, just, make sure that you just are aligning with the venue who might be putting together somewhat of a timeline for you, aligning with your venue vendors. Now there's so many resources, like even just to grab like a timeline template online for the really, really like DIY couple, and just kind of filling that out and making it a little bit more, full out, I guess you could say, in terms of logistics is key, because it really can be tough if something is thrown off.
What exactly did you ever get to the bottom of what made this guy go rogue?
So in terms of just what made him go rogue, I think his expectation of what someone doing event management was full service. So like he was very much like, I don't think grasp that like this is an event management situation. I'm coming in 3 months before. We're really coming up to speed, communicating with our vendors. We're not building out the exact layout. There's things we're not doing that we would do with a full service couple. And I think it was just a misalignment on that front, and expecting things that, we just couldn't give him for the job that we were doing. And, also it was a little tricky of a venue. It was a private venue. So, everything kind of had to be super buttoned up, and there was no venue to kind of fall back on. There was no like venue operations manager who was really managing the operations of the actual space. So that's where it became a little tricky as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's tricky. But that gives me my next question to you is like, why is it important for couples to trust their wedding planner and choosing the right vendors? I mean, this is a perfect example. Obviously you have to match their style and their budget, but there has to be, what's the most important reason of why they should trust their wedding planner if they have a wedding planner, or if they don't, their gut. How's that?
Yes. Yes, yes. So I would say it's important to trust your planner because it's someone you've confidently hired, you've vetted to get the job done. They are literally your guide as they, one, know the industry well, and just the things to look for when it comes to booking vendors and such, and how to work with vendors, I should say, more so than booking those actual vendors. Like how to work with them and what these vendors like look for, what they need to get their jobs done. Like you not having that guidance could sometimes stunt you because you really don't know. And it's, you got to know the right questions to ask sometimes too. But I think, we also have as planners established relationships in the industry when it comes to vendors. And I like to say they're literally, quite frankly, your person. Like they're there to help you, support you, beyond them just ticking and tying all these details on the day. It's important to feel like it's a good fit personality wise. They have a strong understanding of you and as a couple and what you're looking for. Your planner should be able to handle situations on the day through the lens of what you want versus what they think is best, right? So some of the questions I like to think about that, if you don't have a planner, or if you're looking to chat with planners who might be the best fit for you, like, or any vendor really, is just, do we understand each other? Do we respect each other? Do we have similar communication style? Do they have my best interests in mind? Do they understand me and my fiance on a personal level? So just digging a little bit deeper and, asking those types of questions. And, that this kind of goes nicely with what we were saying of like, why do you do what you do? And these are those type of deeper questions that I think people don't think to ask, that I think really could help them in tenfold. And really form a beautiful connection with their vendors, whether it's a planner or photographer, videographer, whoever that might be for them.
And that's the other thing. It's obviously if they hire someone like yourself or they have an event planner or wedding planner, then their trust, that's your team, right?
Yes.
They have a team. But if they don't, so for the listeners who don't have that,
Mm-hmm.
another little nugget that you just said was like through your lens, meaning through the couple's lens, not through
Yes.
that you need to find vendors that are going to execute your vision, right?
Yes.
Now, obviously, professional vendors know a little bit better than as the operational and how to get from point A to point B. But if you want to go to point B, we have to get you there through what you want, if that makes sense, right? So I'm not trying to tell people to micromanage their vendors, but they definitely need to ask. You definitely need to be finding vendors that are going to do like try to logistically operate in your vision, but logistically operate. That's the key, right? Because there is ways. There's sometimes just things that just can't happen. If it does happen, there's some logistical stuff, right?
Yes.
So I just think that's really important. Like, just start asking the questions, like you said, like why do you do what you do, or start making sure that they're asking about just you and not just about just talking about themselves. You're building a team.
Yeah, and I think like even if you don't know the right questions to ask, like just think of it as you're talking to a friend. Like try to have just a basic conversation and just get to know the person. I think that is really important too. Yeah.
So what are some advice that you can tell newly engaged couples when it comes to getting started on this entire vendor booking process?
First things first, I think the biggest thing I'll tell people before even jumping into the booking process is literally just take a few months just to enjoy the process. Like just enjoy being engaged before you're diving in, because then if you don't take that time, you're kind of diving in and there's that frustration comes in and there's all these things I got to do. Oh my god, like here's my huge checklist and this has to happen when, and yada yada. But I think like just taking a moment to breathe, take it all in, and I think the biggest thing after that is just get on what they call the discovery calls, the consultations, like find out their vibe, ask the right questions that we just had talked about. It's just so important for you, you want to pick the vendors that are going to be a reflection of you and really make your day shine and hone in on all the details that you find special and that you want to highlight. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just leaving room for that open communication, whether it's, booking a potential vendor or whether you already have your vendor booked, right? And you're taking this advice, like, open up that conversation, and don't be afraid to, tell your vendors what it is that you might want or need.
And that's huge. Like, just letting us know what you want and need. And then, like I said, there's different ways to get to that point, but just making sure the expectations are correct and just having a dialogue is perfect. So for a wrap-up question, what are some key points that couples should be asking their wedding planner when they are inquiring to make sure that they are working with a professional company to ensure that their wedding day is a perfect event?
Yeah. So in terms of what to ask their wedding planner, so, when you're getting on a call with your wedding planner, like, really start by, well, I guess first, like, in terms of me, like, I like to let them start kind of talking about who they are, right? But I think first things first, I'll ask you about who you are, and I like to hear like that from you, but also I like, ask me who I am, what I do, about my background. If you don't know, you're not going to know my experience. And I think it's so important to hear more about the vendor's background, to really kind of lead you into a more fluid conversation and kind of, just understand what it is they do a little bit more. Then, asking them kind of, I like to not just jump right into like, what's your price? I like to ask questions like, I like to hear questions, I should say, like, what is an experience that you had with your couple where you might have had to improv on the day, right? So that you can hear how the planner handles like certain situations. What is a vendor issue that you've dealt with and how did you manage that? Like, I like when people ask me these questions because it allows me to dive deeper and really hone into my expertise and what I'm able to help with on the day. Also ask about what it is they do on your day. And if that's such a big part of it, but and if you're looking for something more full service, like, I would say ask your planner for like those key points of like what you're touching on through that planning process. Like, take me through your planning process, not take me through your services sheet, and all the bullets and all the things that comes with it in the package inclusions. Like, take me through those high level pieces of your planning process. I think is such a good thing to be able to explore with them on something like a discovery call, an initial inquiry call.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Carissa, for joining me on this week's episode of Wedding Secrets Unveiled. You helped our listeners become one step closer to their journey of stress-free wedding planning. Can you tell everybody where they could find you?
Yes, thank you for having me. This was so much fun. For anyone who, wants to check out Carissa Corsi events, we actually have a new website going live in a week, so stay tuned for that. But we're very heavily involved with Instagram. It's just Carissa Corsi events. We also have a TikTok. It's at Carissa Corsi. So you can check out some fun and interactive, both reels, TikToks, all that fun stuff there as well. So, yeah.
And what I'll do is for our listeners, we'll have Carissa's information on our episode show notes, which you can find on our blog and our website podcast page, which is at sarahzarella.com/podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Wedding Secrets Unveiled. I appreciate you being here. And hey, if you enjoyed this episode, I want to tell you something. I encourage you to check out our website at sarahzarella.com. We love photographing while having fun, of course. Check out our podcast page on our website for our show notes along with upcoming episodes with your local wedding experts. Listen in as we help you plan your epic event. And don't forget that you can actually subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening so you never miss an episode. I would so appreciate if you left a review for us on Apple Podcasts. Even better, share it with a friend. It's a great way to show your support and let us know what you think. If you know any wedding experts that would like to be a guest, we have a link directly on our website where they can let us know. Thank you for listening.